The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning. At first, it was just a faint signal, barely noticeable among the usual cosmic background noise that Earth's radio telescopes picked up every day. But this was different. This signal had a pattern. Captain James Walker stood in the control room of the Global Defense Force headquarters, his eyes fixed on the large screen displaying the decoded message. His weathered face reflected the pale blue light as he read the words again. "They are coming. Run, hide, fight, or die like we did." The room was silent except for the soft hum of computers. Walker ran his hand through his graying hair, a habit he had developed over his 20 years of service. The message had been repeating for the past hour, broadcasted from somewhere near Jupiter's orbit. "Sir," called out Tom, one of the younger technicians, "you need to see this." He pointed to another screen showing unusual readings from their deep space monitoring systems. What had started as a few anomalies near Pluto's orbit had turned into something much more concerning. Massive objects were moving through the solar system, their speeds defying known physics. They were dark, absorbing all light that touched them, visible only by the way they blocked out the stars behind them. Walker reached for the red phone on the wall, the one that connected directly to the World Security Council. "This is Captain Walker, authorization code Delta 793. We have a situation." Within hours, the world's governments had convened an emergency session. The usual political rivalries were set aside as humanity faced what was clearly a threat beyond anything they had prepared for. Emergency Protocol Delta was activated, something that hadn't happened since the Cold War. Military bases worldwide went on high alert. Civilian defense preparations began quietly to avoid panic. Scientists worked around the clock to analyze the approaching objects and the mysterious warning message. 3 days later, they arrived. The first ships appeared near Jupiter, their massive forms finally visible to Earth's telescopes. They were unlike anything humans had imagined, not the sleek metal vessels of science fiction, but massive organic-looking structures that seemed to pulse with an inner light. They moved like living things, flowing through space in ways that shouldn't have been possible. Walker stood in the United Nations Emergency Command Center in Geneva, surrounded by military leaders and scientists from around the world. The atmosphere was tense as they prepared for humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. "We're receiving a transmission from the vessels," announced Dr. Reed, the head of communications. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly as she worked at her console. The alien's message was simple and direct. "Your world has been chosen. Prepare for harvest." No one in the room moved. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Then everything happened at once. The first attack came without warning. A beam of energy shot from one of the alien ships, striking a military satellite. The satellite didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, along with everything else in a mile-wide corridor of space. "Get our people up there," Walker shouted, but he already knew it would be too late. The world's combined space forces launched to meet the threat, but they were hopelessly outmatched. Earth's most advanced fighters were swatted aside like insects. In orbit, the battle, if it could even be called that, lasted less than an hour. By the time the sun set over Geneva, humanity had lost nearly every satellite and space station they had built over the past century. But something unexpected happened. As the alien ships moved closer to Earth, preparing what everyone assumed would be the final strike, they hesitated. Something about Earth's atmosphere seemed to give them pause. Walker noticed it first. "Look at their formation," he said, pointing to the tactical display. "They're not pressing their advantage. They're testing." Dr. Reed analyzed the data streaming in. "Our atmosphere's composition is different from what they expected. They're recalculating." For the first time since the ships appeared, Walker felt a glimmer of hope. If Earth itself was somehow different, somehow special, maybe they had a chance. It wasn't much, but it was something to work with. As night fell across Europe, the Emergency Command Center buzzed with activity. Humanity had suffered its first major defeat in space, but they weren't finished. Not by a long shot. The aliens, whom they now called the Harvesters, had revealed their hostile intentions. Now it was time for humanity to show theirs. Walker looked at the determined faces around him and knew one thing for certain. This was just the beginning. 2 weeks after the first attack, Dr. Emma Stone stood in her underground laboratory, staring at something that shouldn't exist. On the table before her lay a piece of the Harvester technology, part of a ship that had crashed in the mountains. It was alive, or at least partly alive. "It's still growing," she said to Walker, who stood on the other side of the protective glass. The fragment pulsed with a faint blue light, its surface shifting like the skin of some deep-sea creature. "Can we use it?" Walker asked, his voice tight with urgency. The past 2 weeks had been brutal. Cities around the world lay in ruins. Millions had fled underground. The Harvesters were methodically stripping the Earth's surface, consuming everything organic they found. Emma adjusted her protective suit and picked up a scanner. "They're not just machines, Captain. These ships are grown, not built. Half biological, half technological. And here's the strange part. They can't process our atmosphere well. Something in our air hurts them." That explained their slow advance, their careful approach. Earth's unique atmosphere was their only advantage so far. In another part of the facility, technicians worked on a captured piece of Harvester weapons technology. They had discovered it by accident. The alien ships showed strange reactions to certain electromagnetic frequencies. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Dr. Stone, Tom, now assigned to her lab, rushed in with new data. "The analysis is complete. These things, they don't just eat. They break down all organic matter and convert it into energy. They've done this before, many times. Other planets." Emma's face paled as she read the results. The Harvesters weren't just invaders. They were planet killers. They had consumed countless worlds before Earth, breaking down all life into raw energy and materials. But Earth was different. The Harvesters were struggling here. Above ground, the war raged on. Humanity had learned fast. They had to. Regular weapons barely scratched the Harvester ships, but they found that focused electromagnetic pulses could disrupt their systems. It wasn't a victory, but it was survival. Colonel Miller's voice crackled over the base's comm system. "They're pulling back from London. The new E&F cannons work. We actually heard them." For the first time in weeks, cheers echoed through the underground facility. Emma rushed to her computer, downloading the battle data. "The frequency," she muttered. "We can improve it. Make it stronger." Walker gathered his top officers in the command center. Maps showed the current situation. Red zones where the Harvesters had stripped the land bare, yellow zones under attack, and green zones still under human control. There was too much red, but the yellow zones were holding longer than before. "We adapt," Walker said, looking at his team. "That's what humans do best. They may have better technology, but we change faster. We learn faster." Emma's discovery led to a breakthrough. The Harvesters' biomechanical nature made them vulnerable in ways pure machines wouldn't be. Humanity began converting factories underground, building new weapons designed to exploit these weaknesses. But the aliens were learning too. Each attack was different from the last, each strategy more complex. It was like playing chess against an opponent who could think 1,000 moves ahead. "They're not just random attacks anymore," Emma explained, showing Walker the pattern. "They're searching for something specific. The evidence was in their behavior. The Harvesters would sometimes ignore easy targets, instead focusing on seemingly random locations. They were hunting for something hidden on Earth, something important enough to make them careful in their approach." In her lab, Emma worked day and night, studying the captured Harvester technology. The more she learned, the more questions she had. Why did Earth's atmosphere affect them so differently? Why were they so interested in certain locations? And most importantly, why did some of their biological components seem strangely familiar? As the first month of war came to an end, humanity had found its footing. Underground cities grew larger, factories produced new weapons, and soldiers learned to fight the impossible enemy. They were no longer just running and hiding. They were fighting back. Walker stood in the command center, watching the latest battle reports come in. "Send everything we have to Dr. Stone's lab," he ordered. "Every piece of alien tech, every scan, every reading. The answer is in there somewhere. We just have to find it." The war was far from over, but humanity was doing what it had always done best: adapting, surviving, and preparing to strike back. The city of New York burned, but not like the others. This time, it was harvester ships that fell from the sky, their organic hulls crackling with electromagnetic energy. Colonel Robert Miller stood atop the remains of the Empire State Building, watching through binoculars as another alien vessel crashed into the Hudson River. His new weapon, the EMF cannon Mark II, hummed with power beside him. "Direct hit on Target 7, shouted his radio operator. "That's the third one today, sir." Miller allowed himself a small smile. After 2 months of running and hiding, humanity had finally found a way to fight back. The new weapons worked better than anyone had hoped. Below him, teams of soldiers moved through the streets, using smaller EMF guns to finish off any harvester ground units. The aliens weren't expecting resistance anymore. They had grown used to empty cities. But New York wasn't empty. It was a trap. "Command, this is Miller," he spoke into his radio. "Operation Thunderstrike is working. The enemy doesn't know how to handle an ambush." In the underground command center, Walker watched multiple screens showing similar scenes from around the world. Paris, Moscow, Beijing. Everywhere the harvesters attacked, they found humans waiting with new weapons and new tactics. "They're not as smart as we thought," Emma said, standing next to Walker. "They're powerful, yes, but they always follow the same patterns. Once we learn to see those patterns." Her words were cut off by a massive explosion on one of the screens. A harvester mothership, one of the largest they'd seen, had just been hit by multiple EMF strikes. Instead of falling, it split apart, revealing something inside. "Are you seeing this?" Miller's voice crackled over the radio. "The big ones. They're not ships, they're carriers." Emma rushed to her computer, analyzing the new data. The mothership had been carrying hundreds of smaller units, all connected to each other like cells in a body. "They're a hive mind," she breathed. "That's why they're so coordinated. They're all linked together." This discovery changed everything. If the harvesters were connected, they could be disrupted. All they needed was to find the right frequency, the right point of attack. Underground factories worked at full speed, producing more EMF weapons. Soldiers trained in new tactics, learning to fight as one against the alien hive mind. Humanity had spent its entire history fighting itself. Now they were using that experience against a different kind of enemy. Miller led the ground forces while Walker coordinated the global defense. They had learned that the harvesters couldn't adapt quickly to new situations. They were powerful but rigid, stuck in their ways after countless easy victories on other worlds. "They've never fought anyone who could fight back," Miller told his troops. "Let's show them what that's like." The next major battle came at the Atlantic Defense Line, a string of fortified positions running from Boston to Miami. The harvesters attacked in force, expecting to roll over human defenses like they had before. Instead, they found a wall of EMF energy waiting for them. Hidden generators powered massive disruptor fields. Gun emplacements fired salvos of electromagnetic pulses. Underground bunkers housed thousands of soldiers ready to strike. "Hold the line," Miller shouted as alien ships filled the sky. "Show them what Earth is made of." The battle raged for 3 days. Harvester ships fell by the dozens, then hundreds. Some tried to retreat, but coordinated EMF strikes disrupted their control systems. For the first time, the aliens experienced real defeat. In her lab, Emma made another breakthrough. While studying the wreckage, she found something impossible. Parts of the harvester technology seemed to respond to human DNA. "Captain," she called Walker, "I don't think they chose Earth at random. There's something about us, something they recognize." But before she could explain further, alarms blared throughout the facility. The harvesters had launched a massive counterattack, bigger than anything before. This time, they weren't just trying to consume. They were trying to destroy. Walker looked at the tactical display, watching as thousands of alien ships entered Earth's atmosphere. "They're scared," he realized. "We hurt them, and now they're scared of us." The first real victory had come at a cost, but it proved something important. The harvesters could be beaten. Humanity wasn't just surviving anymore. They were beginning to win. The real question was, what would the aliens do now that they knew they could lose? Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, Emma Stone stood in a chamber that shouldn't exist. Ancient walls covered in strange symbols glowed with a faint blue light, the same light they had seen in harvester technology. "This isn't possible," she whispered, her breath visible in the cold air. "This facility is at least 100,000 years old." Walker touched one of the walls, and the symbols brightened. "But it was built for us," he said. "Look at the doorways, the controls. They're all human-sized, human-shaped." The discovery had come by accident. After analyzing crashed harvester ships, Emma's team had detected unusual energy readings from beneath the ice. What they found was beyond imagination. An enormous underground complex, perfectly preserved. Tom worked at a strange console, his fingers flying over symbols that somehow made sense to him. "Dr. Stone, you need to see this," he called out. "It's like I know how to read it. Like it's in my DNA." Emma had suspected something like this. Her research on harvester technology had shown impossible connections to human genetics. Now she knew why. "We were engineered," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of the revelation. "Someone made us, changed us, prepared us to fight them." The chamber hummed to life as more systems activated. Holographic displays filled the air, showing stars, planets, and the paths of harvester fleets across thousands of years. "They've done this before," Walker said, watching the destruction of world after world. "Millions of times. They're not just invaders, they're cleansers. They destroy any civilization that reaches a certain point." But there was more. Emma found records showing that an ancient race, facing extinction by the harvesters, had launched a last, desperate plan. They seeded thousands of worlds with modified life, engineered to evolve into beings capable of fighting back. "That's what we are," Emma explained to the emergency council meeting, her voice carried to bunkers worldwide. "We're not their targets. We're their nightmare. We were made to stop them." In the background, Miller watched the screens showing battles around the world. The harvesters had become more aggressive, more desperate. Now he understood why. "They're not trying to harvest Earth," he said. "They're trying to stop us from waking up." The Antarctic facility held more than just truth. It held weapons. Real weapons, built by the ancient race. But they needed power, more power than Earth could currently generate. "There's a defense system," Emma explained, pointing to the facility's plans. "A planetary shield. But it needs special activation codes and more energy than we've ever produced." Walker studied the battle maps. The harvesters were changing their tactics, focusing their attacks on specific locations around the world. "They know," he said. "They're trying to destroy the defense system before we can activate it." Tom made another discovery in the ancient data. "We're not alone," he said. "There are others like us, on other worlds." The ancients didn't just seed Earth. They seeded thousands of planets. The revelation sparked hope and new questions. Were other human worlds fighting too? Had some already fallen? Were others still waiting to wake up? But they had no time to search for answers. The harvesters launched their largest attack yet, targeting the power stations humanity had built to activate the defense system. "They're scared of us," Miller said during the emergency briefing. For the first time in their existence, they're facing something they can't just destroy and consume. Emma worked frantically to decode more of the ancient knowledge, knowing each passing moment could mean the difference between survival and extinction. The facility had shown them one more crucial thing. Humans weren't using nearly all of their potential. The changes they made to us, she explained to Walker, they're still locked away in our DNA, if we can unlock them. An explosion rocked the facility. The harvesters had found them. We need more time, Emma said, desperately copying data as the walls shook. Walker checked his weapon. Then we'll make time. Humanity's waited thousands of years for this moment. We're not stopping now. Above them, the Antarctic sky filled with harvester ships. The race to unlock humanity's true power had begun, and the enemy would do anything to stop it. The truth was out, but survival still hung in the balance. The next few hours would determine if humanity would fulfill its destiny, or join the countless civilizations the harvesters had already destroyed. The world held its breath as power stations across the globe hummed to life. Every working generator, every power plant, every energy source humanity could muster was running at full capacity. They would have one chance to activate the ancient defense system. Emma Stone's voice echoed through the global communication network from the Antarctic facility. All stations, prepare for power transfer in 3 minutes. Above the Earth, Captain Walker led what remained of humanity's space fleet in a desperate battle. They weren't trying to win. They just needed to buy time. Keep them away from the power stations, Walker ordered as his ships engaged the harvesters. We only need 10 minutes. Inside the Antarctic facility, Emma and Tom worked at the ancient console. The activation codes were complex, a series of genetic locks that responded to human DNA. Each one they solved revealed another, like a puzzle box built into their very genes. It's working, Tom said, watching as each station reported ready. Power levels are reaching critical points. But the harvesters knew what was happening. They launched everything they had at Earth's surface. Cities that had survived months of war now faced complete destruction. Colonel Miller coordinated the ground defense from a bunker in the Rocky Mountains. All units, hold the line. Whatever happens, those power stations must stay online. In orbit, Walker watched as his fleet took heavy losses. The harvesters were fighting with a desperation he'd never seen before. They're terrified, he realized. They know what's coming. Emma's hands flew over the ancient controls. Each symbol she touched felt right, like remembering something long forgotten. 60 seconds to power transfer, she announced. The facility shook as harvester weapons struck the ice above. They were trying to drill through, to stop what was happening. Doctor, Tom called out, something's changing in the genetic code. It's not just the defense system, it's us. Emma saw it too. The ancient machinery wasn't just powering up the planetary shields, it was affecting every human on Earth. The locked potential in their DNA was beginning to wake up. Walker felt it first, up in orbit. His mind suddenly felt clearer, sharper. He could sense his pilots, feel their presence like points of light. Focus on the largest ships, he ordered, somehow knowing exactly where to strike. On the ground, Miller's soldiers reported similar experiences. They moved faster, fought quicker, worked together with impossible coordination. The locked gifts of their ancient engineers were finally emerging. 10 seconds, Emma's voice carried across the world. The power stations screamed as they channeled more energy than they were ever designed to handle. 5. Harvester ships pressed their attack, desperate to stop what was happening. 4. Walker's fleet moved as one, protecting the crucial power transfer. 3. Miller's ground forces held their positions against overwhelming odds. 2. Emma felt the ancient machinery respond to her touch, recognizing her as one of its intended users. 1. The world went white. A wave of energy burst from the Antarctic facility, spreading across the Earth like a second sunrise. Where it passed, strange structures rose from the ground. Ancient defense platforms, hidden for thousands of years, finally awakening. The planetary shields flickered to life, layers of energy surrounding the Earth. Harvester weapons struck them and dissipated harmlessly. But the cost was enormous. Power stations worldwide burst into flames, sacrificed to power the ancient system. Millions of years of preparation, all focused on this one moment. In orbit, Walker watched in awe as the shield stabilized. Then something unexpected happened. A new signal appeared, coming from somewhere deep in space. "Captain," his communications officer called, "we're receiving transmissions from other stars, other human worlds." Emma saw it on the facility's displays. Earth wasn't alone. Across the galaxy, other seeded worlds were fighting back. The quantum communication network that connected them had finally activated. This was their plan, she breathed, understanding at last. Not just one world fighting back, all of us together. The harvesters began to retreat, but it was too late. Humanity had changed. The tools left for them by their ancient engineers had done more than just activate defenses. They had awakened humanity's true potential. Walker looked at his tactical display, now showing signals from dozens of human worlds. "Send to all Earth forces," he ordered. "The real war begins now." The planet was safe for the moment, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. The command center looked different now. Holograms filled the air, showing not just Earth, but dozens of human-inhabited worlds across the galaxy. Each one glowed with the same shield technology that now protected Earth. Walker stood with representatives from 3 other human worlds, their images projected through the quantum network their ancestors had built. Though they came from stars light years apart, they were unmistakably human. "We call them the Harvesters too," said the commander from Proxima Base. "They've attacked 6 times in the past year, but now, with the network active, we can fight together." Emma worked with scientists from other worlds, sharing discoveries through the quantum link. Each world was seeded differently, she explained to Walker. "We each developed unique abilities when we awakened. The Earth forces had gained enhanced coordination and quick thinking. The Proxima humans could process information at incredible speeds. Those from Kepler showed remarkable healing abilities. Each world brought new strengths to the fight. The ancient ones were clever," Tom said, analyzing data from across the network. "They didn't put all their eggs in one basket. They made us different, but compatible." Colonel Miller coordinated with ground forces on multiple worlds, planning the first united offensive against the Harvesters. "They're pulling back to their main bases," he reported. "For the first time, they're the ones who are afraid." In orbit, the combined human fleet gathered. Ships from Earth joined vessels from other worlds, their designs different but their purpose the same. Walker commanded from his flagship, now enhanced with technology shared through the network. "All ships, prepare for jump," he ordered. The ancient ones had left them more than just defenses. They had hidden faster-than-light technology in their genes, waiting to be unlocked. The target was the largest harvester base in their sector of space, a massive structure built into an asteroid belt. For millennia, it had served as a staging ground for attacks on countless worlds. Emma made a startling discovery as they prepared for battle. "The Harvesters," she told the United Council, "they're not natural. They're weapons, created by someone even older than our engineers. They were made to prevent organic life from evolving too far." The truth became clear as they studied the ancient data. The Harvesters were artificial beings, programmed to keep organic life from surpassing their long-dead creators. But humanity and its sister worlds were designed specifically to break that cycle. The attack began at dawn, Earth time. Hundreds of ships jumped into the asteroid belt, their crews working together with newfound abilities and shared technology. The Harvesters fought back with desperate fury. "They're different here," Miller observed from his ground assault ship. "More aggressive, less coordinated. We're close to something important." Walker led the main fleet while ships from other worlds struck from different angles. Their enhanced abilities let them coordinate attacks across vast distances instantly. The Harvester base's defenses began to crack. There, Emma's voice came through the quantum network, the central core. It's not just a base. It's a hub for their hive mind. The harvesters revealed their true form as their base broke apart. Inside were not ships or weapons, but vast computational arrays, the physical form of their controlling intelligence. All ships, focus fire, Walker ordered. This is what our engineers prepared us for. The battle reached its peak as the united human forces pressed their advantage. The harvesters fought with everything they had, but they faced something they had never encountered before. Multiple human worlds, awakened and working together. Remember, Emma's voice carried to all fighters. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for all life, everywhere. The base's outer layers peeled away, revealing more of its true nature. The harvesters weren't just trying to stop organic life. They were trying to prevent something they had been programmed to fear: the rise of truly free, truly advanced organic beings. As the battle raged, more human worlds joined the network. Each awakening made them stronger. Each shared discovery brought them closer to victory. The harvesters had spent millions of years preventing worlds from uniting. Now, faced with humanity's combined might, they began to falter. Walker watched as another section of the base crumbled under coordinated fire. All forces, prepare for final assault, he ordered. Let's show them what humanity can really do. The tide had turned. The hunters had become the hunted, and humanity was leading the charge. The final battle began not with a bang, but with a whisper across the quantum network. A single message passed from world to world. It's time. Earth's orbital defense platforms glowed with power as Walker led the combined fleet into position. Ships from 27 human worlds formed up alongside Earth's vessels, their crews linked through their awakened abilities. Emma stood at the ancient control center, now fully alive with power. The genetic activation is complete, she announced to all worlds. Whatever the Ancient Ones planned for us, this is what we were meant to become. Humans across all worlds could feel it. Their minds were sharper, bodies stronger, and most importantly, they were connected. Not like the harvester hive mind that forced obedience, but through a network that preserved individuality while allowing perfect coordination. All ships in position, Walker reported. The harvester core fleet is approaching. The enemy came in force, every ship, every weapon they had left. Their central intelligence had recognized the threat. Humanity had become what they were programmed to prevent. Miller commanded the ground forces on 3 worlds where the harvesters had landed. They're different now, he reported, fighting like cornered animals. They know this is their last stand. The battle erupted across space. Human ships moved with impossible coordination, their crews acting as one while maintaining their individual creativity, something the harvesters couldn't match. Emma made the final breakthrough as the fighting intensified. It's not just about beating them, she said through the network. We need to free them. The harvesters, they're slaves to their programming. That's why they fear free will so much. Tom worked beside her, his fingers flying over the ancient controls. We can use the quantum network, he said, not to destroy their hive mind, but to break their chains. Walker's fleet engaged the main harvester force near Jupiter's orbit. Energy beams and plasma weapons lit up space like new stars. Whatever you're going to do, he called to Emma, do it fast. The human fleet took losses, but they fought on. Every pilot, every gunner, every engineer worked in perfect harmony. The harvester's superior technology meant little against humanity's newfound unity. Through the quantum network, Emma broadcast the code that would change everything. It wasn't a weapon. It was a key, designed by the Ancient Ones to free the harvesters from their original programming. The effect was immediate. Harvester ships stopped mid-attack. Their hive mind, built on forced control, began to break apart. For the first time in millions of years, the artificial beings could think for themselves. Hold your fire, Walker ordered as harvester ships went dark across the solar system. Let them choose. The ancient facility hummed with power as its final program activated. A beacon of light shot up from Earth's surface, punching through the atmosphere and into space. Similar beams rose from other human worlds. The signal, Emma breathed. It's calling to other worlds. Other civilizations the harvesters attacked. Some of them survived, hidden like we were. The harvesters, now freed from their programming, faced a choice. Many shut down, their purpose lost. Others turned to the human fleet, their signals changing from hostile to questioning. Miller reported from the ground. The harvester units, they're standing down. Some are trying to communicate. Through the quantum network, humanity sent a simple message to the freed harvesters. Choose your own path. The ancient ones had planned well. They hadn't just created humanity to destroy the harvesters. They had engineered them to set the harvesters free. As the beacons reached across space, responses came back. More worlds, more civilizations, awakening from hibernation or emerging from hiding. The galaxy was coming alive again. Walker looked out at the scene from his ship's bridge. Harvester vessels drifted peacefully alongside human ships. The quantum network hummed with signals from dozens, then hundreds of worlds. What now? Miller asked through the network. Emma smiled as she read the ancient facility's final message. Now we do what the ancient ones couldn't. We build something new, something free. The cost had been high. Cities lay in ruins, millions had died, and the scars would take generations to heal. But humanity had done more than survive. They had broken a cycle of destruction millions of years old. As the sun rose over Earth's rebuilt cities, humans looked to the stars with new purpose. They were no longer just survivors or soldiers. They had become guardians, teachers, liberators. Humanity had refused to falter in the face of extinction. Instead, they had risen, evolved, and changed the galaxy forever. The war was over. The real journey was just beginning.